Good morning, kids. And we continue the chapter number 8. And in chapter number 8, we are going to deal today with wind currents. Why are they caused? Because of the uneven heating of the earth. And we are going to understand first of all that is uneven heating between the equator and the poles. Today we are going to understand these more and we are going to take up the notes in the next lecture. Please keep the book open and I want everybody to keep the diagram number 8.8. There they had shown the globe and they have indicated the wind flow pattern because of the uneven heating of the earth. You're going to understand that on the board also. So let's see how this uneven. If you can recall, we have covered in case of sea breeze and land breeze. Uneven heating of the earth. Land heats up and cools down faster as compared to that of the sea. That means sun's rays are heating up all the places equally. But due to this property of water that it heats up and cools very slowly, there is a variation in the portions being heated up. Land will be heated up faster than that of the sea. Here try and understand how winds are caused. First step first, if we understand about the earth and almost in the center line we know that that is equator, we are just going to label if this is of course our equator and these are the poles. And of course here we have around 30 degree and then the 60 degrees. We are supposed to understand this. Sun heats up very strongly, you can say, or the sun's rays are directly falling in straight line on the equator. That means this portion will be heated up more as compared to the other parts. So what happens? The land area that is heated up, if this we label as A, the land area near the equator gets heated up very fast and to a greater temperature. So what happens that the air that is present on the land also becomes heated up. That is, the air that is present near to the equator also becomes hot. And hot air is lighter, it rises up, leaving a vacuum, an empty space. Whereas the heat has not caused much of the effect on the poles, and the wind and the land near the pole is still cool. Cool air is heavier and cool air tries to fill the vacuum of the place which has been heated very strongly. In a way, this portion which we may label as B is still cool. Now if it is cool, the air present on its surface will also be cool. From this portion near to the equator, because the land has been heated up, the air that is present on the land also is being heated up and it rises up. So there is a vacancy in this area. To fill that vacancy, the air rushes from the poles towards the equator. Okay, this is one. That means, in a nutshell, air that is present over equator, because equator is getting heated up fast, so the air that is present on the equator is also heated up, it rises up. Now that air which is above this 30-degree latitude, that is around this more than 3/4 part, this is still cool. So what happens? This cooler air tries to fill the vacuum that is there on the equator. So that basically, this thing basically causes the air to move from north-south direction. Now from poles, it appears to rush towards the equator. Basically, that means that air would have flown in north-south direction. That means from north to south or from south to north. But it is not being very clear, it is not going straight. There is one more reason for that, the rotation of the earth. Because the earth is constantly rotating on its axis, so the winds do not go straight. They don't go straight to fill up the volume from north to south or from south to north. They don't go in a straight manner. They seem to be a little bit curved because of the rotation of the earth. Two important concepts I have covered in this part of the lecture. I am repeating it again. First part, the uneven heating between the equator and the poles causes the movement of winds. Now, how does it cause the movement of wind? Because equator is heated up more, the air present on equator becomes hot and rises up, and the air from the poles is still cool, so it rushes to fill the vacuum. This is one. Second, the winds would have gone directly from north to south or from south to north. It should have gone straight, but it is not so. We are showing it with the help of some curved arrow marks. What is the reason behind it? The reason is the rotation of the earth. The earth rotates on its axis, and due to that, the direction of the wind is not direct, it is not straight from north to south or from south to north. Got it? Two important concepts. Now, once we are trying to understand uneven heating of land and water, that causes monsoon winds. This we have covered in case of land breeze and sea breeze. If you can recollect. Let's understand that concept and recall it, and then again we'll move ahead to this one. During the daytime, what had happened? The land was heated up more as compared to that of sea. So what happened during the daytime? The air was blowing from sea to land, sea breeze. Can you recollect that? Opposite of that had happened at night. Water is still warm at night, but the land becomes cooler immediately the moment the sun sets in. But the water is still warm. If water is warm, the air in the water is also warm. It rises up. And at night time, land breeze will be there. That means the cool air will flow from land to sea. Now keep it in mind, and now we'll understand for the winds that are caused due to uneven heating of land and water. And to understand that concept, I want everyone out of you to keep the maps. There are two maps mentioned on the next page. Keep them in front of you. And I'm going to put some small labeling so that you can understand the concept. There is this tag figure number 8.9. 8.9. We are going to understand that first. Okay. The map of India is not very well. We are not interested in the social part of it. What we are actually trying to understand is that how these winds are caused. So here, of course, we have Indian Ocean. We are concerned with that. And we are trying to understand that map that is mentioned in the figure 8.9. Let's understand that first. And here in this portion we have Rajasthan. And if you see carefully, in that figure, they are showing the direction of the wind. We are dividing this in east, west, north, south. So label this they have not labeled there. That will help us in understanding two things. So label it as like east, west, north, and south. These labelings are not there. You put this alphabets there on the map. Figure number 8.9. East, west, north, and south. And you must very carefully observe that there they have shown the direction of the wind this way, from Rajasthan to up. That means from ocean to the land. If we can see that, that's the way it is given. Now let's try and understand. This is what we are supposed to understand, that here in this case, monsoon winds. Monsoon winds. Here are two terms are important. One, we are here discussing about monsoon winds, and which direction it is. This is southwest direction. This is southwest direction. Now let's understand what happens during summer. Right now, monsoon winds are creating these rains everywhere. Right? So what happens? Let's understand uneven heating of land and water. Sun is heating up all over the world, including India. But here we are discussing about like land and water. We are living in Rajasthan, so what we are going to discuss here is that, say for example, Rajasthan or this desert portion, the land gets heated up faster than the ocean. The air from Rajasthan, the hot air from Rajasthan rises up. It leaves the vacuum, khali area. Ocean still has some cold air with it because it's not been that warm as this land is. So what happens? The air, the cool air from ocean starts moving towards Rajasthan. This area is southwest. Whenever it is asked for in our examinations, whenever it is asked, remember these two terms. These are the monsoon winds we are discussing about. Uneven heating of land and water. Summertime, sun heats up both the places. Land gets heated up faster than water. Air that is present on water is still cool. It starts moving in to fill the vacuum, and these are known as monsoon winds. Is it clear? This is about the summer part. Right now what is going on is this only. Clear? That's the explanation of the first part. Now the second part we are understanding. That is the next diagram, that is 8.10. The next map they had shown 8.10. Can you see that? There are two maps of India. The first first map indicated the monsoon winds. Monsoon winds will arise from Indian Ocean and they will travel up towards Rajasthan, and the direction will be of course southwest. Clear? Next, again we are going to understand for the next season what happens after this. After this, the next one we are going to understand, that is 8.10. Let's understand that. And here these things are going to change. Remember that in that particular map, again mentioned as east, west, north, south, which is not labeled there. Please do that. And let's see the direction of winds, how they had shown. It is just opposite to this one. Now the next step. Next what happens is, again what we are covering about, what we had covered about like sea breeze and land breeze. So just like sea breeze, it happened in the summer season. The only difference is that breeze is like a light blowing wind. But here we are talking about monsoon wind, that means it has the caliber of bringing the rains to the land. During the winter season, opposite is happening. The winds are blowing from top to bottom, you can say. This is the direction, if you can observe carefully in diagram number 8.10. Now, uneven heating of land and water generates winds from northwest colder land, northwest colder lands to the remaining part. First, we had understood about the southwest, and from southwest, monsoon winds were rising up towards the land. Okay, and these winds, the second part, again due to the uneven heating only we are considering, but in this case, the winds are arising from northwest region. Now the question comes that do they bring the rains? Scanty, less amount of these rains will be there in such winds which arise from northwest and they travel towards all over India. Basically, the monsoon winds, they will be arising from Indian Ocean, and they will be traveling towards the hotter parts, like it is happening right now around us. So, in a nutshell, winds are caused because of these two major factors. One, equator and poles, uneven heating. The winds from the poles, they start traveling towards the equator. And the direction is not straight, not from north to south or south to north straight because of the rotation of the earth. First concept. Second, the winds are also caused due to uneven heating of land and water. Land and water. The heat is going to be more effective on land, so from land the air rises up, and from the ocean the air travels towards the land. And because during summer season the heat will be more, so land is heated up more and more during summer season. And these southwest winds are actually the monsoon winds. After this concept, we are supposed to understand thunderstorms and cyclones. Another interesting and important concept of the chapter. That's 8.5 on page number 87. Now that's 8.5 thunderstorms and cyclones. Thunderstorms are very commonly been observed, you can say, around us. Nowadays, we are hearing it every now and then. In Hindi, in local language, we may say that बारिश हो रही है, बादल गरज रहे हैं. So those thunderstorms along with the rain, that's very, very common. But how that happens and how this thunderstorm converts to a cyclone. Cyclone, if you have not seen, please try to have a look at some of the videos at net. Cyclones are very, very common in the areas which are located near to the sea, that is the coastal areas. And specifically, if you click on some of the major cyclones in US, there you will find out that how big these round moving airs could be. And they are so damaging that they can damage the whole lot of area altogether. These funnels of air they are formed and they keep on moving in circular motion to a particular region and then they subside down. But by the time they subside or they finish up, they actually consume many lives, many houses, many homes, many structures. So thunderstorms here, in India we have seen only the thunderstorms specifically, but in those areas which are near to the coastal areas, there definitely cyclones are feared most. Somewhere you must have heard near this southern belt, sometimes near Assam. So those areas which are located near to the sea, their chances of cyclones are more. But if you actually want to see the bigger funnel size cyclones, please try to click on it for some of the big or major cyclones in US and you will be really surprised and stunned to see those structures. They can be so big, right from the surface of the earth, you can see as though they are rising till the sky. And those round structures, they keep on moving round and round. The wind speeds can be around 150 to 250 kilometers per hour. Well, starting off and trying to understand what actually causes this thunderstorm. Again, the same concept. Hot air rises up. Hot air rises up. So what happens? These water molecules which are there sticking to the ground, once they start rising up, because of the heat only they got converted to water vapor. On the ground, either in ponds, ditches, rivers or oceans, they were there in the form of water. Water cannot rise up just like that. So they got converted to water vapor, evaporation, right? Once they start moving up, water vapors they start moving up. After some time, they start condensing, cooling, that means forming clouds. Once they start condensing, they release heat. Now, once they release heat, they make the air even more hot around them. And once the air is hot, to cool that air, the cool air from top to bottom starts moving. Try and understand this thing. I will be putting this on the board also. Water vapors rising up, condense, become water droplet, or you can say cloud formation starts. And in that process, they release heat. That heat actually heats up the air around. And to compensate that, cool air moves in. So in a way, this happens near the sky. When the droplets are falling down, one thing is moving down and the other one is moving up. That means the winds, they carry water droplets upwards where they freeze and fall down again. The swift movement of the falling droplets along with the rising air creates lightning and sound. बारिश नीचे की तरफ गिर रही है. Okay, water droplets, they will definitely form the water drops, and the air moves up. This movement, up and down movement, this basically results into lightning and thunder. That is the sound. Again, I would like to repeat this. Water droplets, they join to form water drops, and once these temperatures they rise up, the air strongly moves in to decrease that temperature. And the strong movement of air upward and the water droplets falling down creates this change in the environment that we call as lightning and thunderstorms. And all of it we have on page number 87, which I am explaining you right now. And the same thing, when it exaggerates, when it increases, that causes the formation of cyclone. Let's try and understand the next thing about the cyclone. And we have understood this is a small concept. This is going to add to our knowledge to understand about the cyclones. Let's understand it once again. We are repeating. Water vapors rise up. Once water vapors rise up, they join together to form water droplets. Once they form these water droplets, they release heat. They release heat means the air around them becomes hot. To cool that air, the air rushes in. So this movement of air, when water has taken up the shape of water droplets or water drop, definitely it becomes heavier and it falls down. So you can say the rain falls down and the air rises up. Very, very important concept in terms of cyclone. Try and understand, kids, for the last time. Water vapor rises up, and after a certain height they start condensing. The gaseous state of water, you can say, start forming the liquid state. And that formation of liquid state from gaseous state releases heat. That means where this cloud formation is taking place, almost near to that, lot of hot air is there. And to cool it down, the air is rushing in. This concept is applicable for cyclones, that once it starts happening and the air starts rushing from all around to fill up that vacuum up, that causes a cyclone. Because in the center where we are saying that hot air is there, where heat is released, If the heat is released, you know very well that hot air rises up. So there is almost like a vacuum, low pressure area. Around this low pressure area, the high pressure vents, they go in whirls, in round and round. That makes a cyclone. The low pressure area actually is known as the eye of the cyclone. That is very calm and cool area. But around it, the whirl of the winds, the circulation of the winds can go up to 150 to 250 kilometers. That's too high of a wind speed. And that is just an average, I'm telling you. It may go even beyond 250, check on net. It has gone in some cases beyond that, and that has devastated and damaged long areas. We are going to understand the cyclones on the basis of one diagram that is given in our book. I am going to draw that on the board, but the diagram is diagram number 8.11. Let's try and understand that diagram number 8.11, formation of a cyclone. Now, how these cyclones are formed? There is this funnel-like structure we have shown. Okay, this is what exactly is the structure. It is broader at the edges and narrower at the middle. Now we are saying that thunderstorms become cyclones. Do all thunderstorms become cyclones? No. They need a continuous condition of low pressure in a particular area. Then only they will result into cyclones. Now, how exactly happens is water vapors, they rise up. Once water vapors are rising up, water vapor to water droplets, and heat is given out in the process. Water vapor, from here, for example, the water vapors, they rise up. Evaporation, they start rising up around this area once they reach for the formation. That means exactly before the formation of the clouds. This happens. Once they start condensing, they start releasing heat. So if there is tremendous amount of heat here in the central part. Heat means it is going to heat up the air around more and more. If the air becomes hot, we know very well that it is going to rise up further. That means it is going to leave a vacuum here, an empty space. To fill that space, the air from surrounding, it starts rushing up. And this area which was hot will become a low pressure area. And around it, see this eye we can say the eye of the cyclone. Eye of cyclone has got around 10 to 20 kilometers in diameter. It will be eye of the cyclone may be around 10 to 20 kilometers. And around this eye, the winds that go in whirl round and round, that may be around 150 kilometers. Yes, around. That may be around 150 kilometers in its area, in its diameter. That means the eye of the cyclone is too short as compared to the overall size of the cyclone. And this eye is a low pressure area. Around this low pressure area, high pressure winds, they go round and round. And that high pressure can be around like 150 kilometers. In this, the wind speed may go between 150 to 250 kilometers per hour. That is too much of the speed. Let's try and understand this for the last time because it's an important concept. They may ask us in the examination how the formation takes place. In a nutshell, again, right from thunderstorm, the cyclone, the story remains same with an addition that if there is continuous heat zone maintained here, that means continuous vacuum maintained here for some time, that causes a low pressure area. And the air from all around which were supposed to fill up that vacuum, they rise up and then they start moving in whirl. That makes the cyclone. So if I am talking about thunderstorm, in the exam if I am writing the answer for thunderstorm, what will I be writing? I will be writing the same concept, two of the arrow marks that I had drawn. The air rises up and the water droplets are falling down. That causes thunder, storm and lightning. Cyclones. During the thunderstorms, when these water vapors are rising up, they are forming water droplets. Once they form water droplets, they release heat. That heat actually heats up the air surrounding more and more. And that creates almost a vacuum there. Low pressure area. Around that low pressure area or the eye, there is this movement of strong winds. This eye will be approximately 10 to 20 kilometers. But around it, those high speed winds can take up around 200 kilometers, approximately. And the wind speed may be right from 150 to 250 kilometers and even higher than that in some of the cases. So what is a cyclone if I am asked for? It's a low pressure area in the center around which the high pressure winds revolve. And the speed wind may be between 150 to 250 kilometers per hour. And that area, total area of that particular cyclone may be around 150 kilometers. That's too much. That means the distance is like almost from Rawatbhata to Kota, then again back to Rawatbhata, then again back to Kota. That much big it may be. So it's a huge funnel. In appearance, it will appear so as though it is a huge funnel right from sky to the ground, and it's moving in circular path and damaging every damn thing that comes in its path. So that is about the cyclone. And what if a storm is accompanied by lightning? That means if you are traveling outside and there is this, not the cyclone I'm talking about right now, thunderstorm. If there is a thunderstorm and lightning, what you are supposed to do? Number one, do not stand under a tree. Never, ever take shelter under a tree during a thunderstorm. Heavy rain, बहुत heavy rain, tremendous amount of heavy rain is there. It's pouring very heavily, and there is this lightning going on. Do not take shelter under a tree. Tree itself is completely wet right now, and it is acting like a large antenna to attract the charges. So it's highly unsafe to stand under a long tree. We should not do that. And we must try and avoid holding an umbrella that has this metallic cap on it. because that again sheet is acting like an antenna to attract the charges towards it. Then what should we do? We must try to take shelter in a concrete building. That is the safest one to go during lightning and thunder. That's all from my side, kids, today. Try to read and understand. Happy learning. Stay safe.